did you go to school? And who's your daddy?
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink guy? Is this what pink guy is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the me quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional program. This week we are once again Jackless, and we have Dave back to talk about various rallies with less cookers and more nationalists, white nationalists specifically, although they did bring in a few people of colour just to mix it up, which is really nice to see, especially when they're ladder pullers who have come here and then decided no one else can come here after them. Now, one thing that I know about rallies is that you go to a rally, it's usually quite hot this time of year, you do a lot of walking, at the end of the day, you need hydration. And obviously CBCO beer is the only beer that truly rehydrates you after a rally. Now, I'm not talking about just any rally. This is mostly white nationalist rallies. No, I'm just kidding. No. We know the only people going to those are basically there to observe and laugh at idiots. When you are exercising your democratic right to protest, you know you need a beer afterwards, and there's nothing lonelier than coming home to an empty fridge. So, obviously, go to cbco.beer, put in CRP10 at the checkout, and buy some fucking beer. Thank you very much for your attention to this matter. And now, moving on, we have Dave, and we are going to start at the lovely point in history, which is the MFA2, the sequel, after the Nazis came along. I mean, no Nazis. John Roddick told me there's no Nazis. Couldn't see any. And this is on the 19th of October, and Beck Freedom basically got stood up by the Nazis, and there weren't really Nazis, although I'm sure there were still Nazis, but unlike the first rally, it wasn't coordinating with Nazis. Anyway, you were there. You know a lot more than I do. What happened?
And they choose to drink at the Criterion afterwards.
Oh, that's always a good piece of information to... Do you want to go? Like, I mean, we went after a rally and we had cookers everywhere. And I remember seeing the MLM grifter, the Enagic dickhead, Bissica, and he was by far and above the best looking person in the room. And he left the room with the other best looking person in the room. And I don't think they were screwing, but at the same time, it was a bit like, wow, that guy does not look like he's meant to be here. And he was recruiting people, like shooting cookers in a barrel. And then, he left with this girl who just looked so out of place because everyone else just looked like they were fucking inbred. And she was like, not. Anyway, that was fun.
My attention was diverted by the speed of Craig Cole's jaw as he munched on chops.
Oh, man, he was... I thought he had fish and chips. I don't remember.
I think you might actually, yeah.
Fuck, man, he ate quick.
It was, real...
He's got food inside him. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, it was a very strange thing. I did sit in there thinking, this place is mildly terrifying. It feels like a Molotov cocktail, and I'm inside it waiting to break. But... it was fine, Everyone just sort of had a beer, had a meal, and
there's far less dramatic and more woke pubs to drink at further south.
Yeah, that's it. Well, unfortunately, they haven't got that memo, and they're probably not big on walking, especially after walking. So, MFA2, 19th of October.
Yeah, much smaller.
Much smaller. Yeah, I had the numbers of basically estimated 15,000 at Rally 1 and estimated 5,000 at Rally 2. I'm not sure if those numbers are accurate, but that is a very big drop regardless of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty Sydney-centric here in this podcast, so...
That's okay. This is your experience.
I don't live in Sydney, but New South Wales-centric.
Yes.
And it's funny because the march from the point I observed it took almost the exact time to the second as Australia Unites took, that strange one that Cass Smith and Mick Sims had organised in between, seemingly as a last cry of the anti-vaxxers.
Okay.
So 7 minutes it took for the march, 7.5 maybe for the whole march to pass, and it was exactly the same as March for Australia too. So
okay, so what was that march called?
That was the one immediately after March for Australia. One was September the 13th, just from memory.
Okay.
Yeah, which was Cass Smith, Mick Sims.
I saw them at Milson's Point. I was parking my car. I was scoping it out.
That was when they thought they were going to get the bridge.
Thought they were going to get the bridge.
Yeah, we're going back 3 months into this turn to nationalism and everyone suddenly pivoting and trying to grab a piece of the pie and align themselves with or whatever direction they want to go or save the reputation of their movement. Yeah, so that was one of them. And then we, had March for Australia, who doesn't sort of care if neo-Nazi ideology is at the forefront, and whereas the others are, for fear of saying it, more nuanced.
Yeah, I mean, Beck swears black and blue that she has nothing to do with these Nazis, and then yet posts things about the noticer, or from the noticer, posts encouraging words about Nazis, often seems to have very friendly and familiar language when she's talking about them. I mean, it's really, we've seen the video from last time, of course, where she was coordinating with them at the front of the rally. I mean, it's endless. To me, it's pretty bizarre to see, for example, John Ruddock. He comes back for March Australia too, and it's so obvious that there are Nazis here. Isn't this the point where you just go, oh, I can't do this? The first one, sure, for whatever reason, somehow he didn't see Nazis. I mean, to be fair, that's not a personality trait I would want to be associated with, because there's a lot of words I would associate with it. But at the same time, at this point, with all the post-mortem and all the media coverage, it's very difficult to stand there and be like, oh, there were no Nazis then and there's no Nazis now. I think he addressed it to the crowd and said something along the lines of, I don't see any Nazis, but you're all like the nicest people I've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. And
there are countless libertarian candidates interacting with members of the NSN as if they know each other in March for Australia chats.
Ooh. Yeah, okay.
And I think we had Joel Davis, prior to him being so rudely interrupted, saying that the only 2 politicians he respects in Australia are Bob Katter and John Ruddock.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad he's managed to get into that fucking nice little category.
I think it might be 1 now. Bob Katter's said a few more things, but who knows?
Well, Bobby Kay did march again in Brisbane with the MFA2, and that, to me, is really disappointing. Bob Katter, I don't know, I never know what to think of him, but my estimation of Bob Katter has gone down by a lot in the wake of this, because at the first one, getting sort of handed a megaphone covered in runes and things like that, whatever the hell happened, the Nazi presence was clear as day. At that point, you distance. You don't necessarily apologise. I don't expect that from Bob, because he doesn't seem like the apologising type. But to just say, I wasn't aware of their involvement. If I'd known, I wouldn't have gone, and I will not be participating in those rallies again. Now, obviously, that's not his position, because he's come and he's participated in another rally, organised by the same people. And generally speaking, I don't think that's very good. But hey, Bob, you do you, Bob. You do you, mate. Good on you. It's a bit fucking sad. So how did the speaking go? How did you find the speakers enthralling? Did you start thinking maybe that they all have a point and that you've been wrong about multicultural society this whole time? Hoodwinked by
I was on my
people?
second, third or fourth time round at live gigs for most of them.
Yeah,
Even the march it copied the same route as Australia Unites from September.
Yeah,
so it was almost
got a bit of deja vu there.
Yeah, and,
okay, yeah.
That came from the marches were at the very beginning was that there was a lot of whinging about the Palestinian protests that march on our bridge and the Opera House.
That was a lot.
They really wanted to go to an iconic site to reclaim it, so to speak.
Yes, exactly.
Which they failed to do, either because they didn't communicate with the police as well as they could have, or there was something else on, like a marathon.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, it was almost, here's another one. Most of these people, there are a few people here who are very much loyal to one faction or the other, but there's a whole other lot of people who just want to turn up and wave flags.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Be they Ensign, Southern Cross, or
a quote from a Guardian article or something saying that someone there was just like, "Oh, I just want to come here wherever there's flags," and you're like, "Well, cool. That's basic, I guess. Good on you. That's the depth of your analysis on this. Then I guess you won't really think much about Nazis and things because you're not really thinking much. It's just not really on your radar. The whole." Conceptualizing and stuff. So as far as the speakers go, I know Jesse Stewart opened up the festivities, and on the Sydney Criminal Lawyers website, they had this quote, which was, "Suburbs with enclaves of hostile foreigners with ideologies and religions that are fundamentally against the founding culture of this nation," describing migrants. Now, I feel like that doesn't make any sense. Like, what is the founding culture of this nation? And how does that work? Like they came on a boat. Like, what founding culture? Just English people turning up? What founding culture? What are you talking about?
It was a dog's breakfast, and he's making a dog's breakfast of it now.
I just feel like my world has been shattered. The idea that Jesse Stewart might not be very smart.
You know what he said? There was a question in a forum a few, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was a fellow freedom fighter come nationalists quizzing Beck quite hard on at what point did she depart the cookosphere and become an out-and-out nationalist, where she repeats... When she met
Jesse.
Where she repeats the mantra of we're against, just deportations, mass migration, we talk about nothing else.
This whole thing, it's the trad wife thing and that women should know their place and all that sort of stuff. She's really swallowed the red pill as well.
And Jesse chipped in there and said that he became a nationalist when he moved to Gab online.
Ah, interesting.
I found that just stunning, really.
That is a very interesting point.
It was totally online. It wasn't a
natural progression, like
nothing
through the movement.
Connected to soil, so to speak. It was all in the ether.
Or blood.
Yes.
But like that is the thing, like, this sort of radicalization thing on the internet, and like something like Gab, a cesspool like that, that's always made sense. If you can figure out how 4chan works, then you can be radicalized on there. Gab is a lot more user-friendly, but much more niche. And then you got Twitter. And while Twitter's not the most user-friendly thing to start with, it is a lot more polished than any of these other websites, and it's a lot more mainstream. And that Gab radicalization thing, you can replace Gab with Twitter very easily now, thanks to who. And I think that's very dangerous, because the idea of more Jesse Stewarts being created, I think that's the last thing this world needs, because that quote is like not just fucking dumb, but it's a kind of dangerous dumb. The founding culture of this nation. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything of what the initial settlers of Australia felt. I'm not even bringing the First Nations people into this because there's just no point. But like, he doesn't know what migrant criminals felt. He's a fucking idiot. Yeah. He's just trying to make them into his little fucking ideal straw man for his dopey ideas. This weird form of nationalism that he's convinced himself of by spending too much time on fucking social media.
Yeah, the idea that any of those people stepped off those boats without having their job description or trying to improve their situation as a prisoner or not, and anything else in mind, like a founding ideology.
It's dumb.
Non-existent.
It's incredibly stupid. I'm not discounting the fact that the settlers were potentially racist and potentially quite stupid, but it's just insane for him to project himself into their brain and just basically just cast his own aspersions on them to make them his ridiculous, like I say, straw man for his dumbass national ideology. Like, I'm sorry, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You are in fairy tale land now, and it's dumb. So, did anyone else stand out to you? There's Steve Christou, the Cumberland councillor character.
Oh, he's always there, and
He's a real fucking creep.
Always being a slime bag. Just
don't like him. He creeps me out.
No,
something about him. I don't like it.
It's an interesting part of Sydney he's from, where he's in the heart of very close to Fairfield and
multicultural
Auburn.
Australia, basically.
Yeah, right in the heart of it. In the wake of Bondi, there's been another couple of councillors from that council, trying real hard to keep the peace in that community. And Christou's just the antithesis of that. He was outside a school with Durrard country written on it, saying they need, once the glorious revolution happens, that those signs will be taken down.
Glorious revolution, yeah. Good luck, mate.
And another character who spoke was Viscount Dundee, no name ascribed, because everyone with the guts to say what they really think has to have a name like Viscount Dundee.
They're all fucking cosplayers.
Yeah. He claimed to be a sixth-generation farmer from Moree, which, if true, puts him at the heart of some pretty wild stuff. But in terms of ancestry, that was the speakers list. It more or less played a role as a filler to get to Christmas after March for Australia 1. And, of course, the big announcement at MFA 2 was that March for Australia 3 would be on January the 26th. So,
big surprise.
What else was it going to be? And also that the NSN would reassociate itself with MFA 3.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a rave by, I think it's Davis or Eltis, about why it was wise to sit out 2, but they've announced they're coming back to 3. And you tend to think that apart from that being the date they can't live without in their entire lives, there's also the opportunity to rope in a few more drunk people than they otherwise would.
Oh, totally. I mean, like the last MFA, they had, people like fucking Michael Gray Griffith and that saying, you know what, Tom Sewell was a pretty good speaker. And, it wasn't for all that Nazi stuff. I sort of agree with some of that stuff. Hey, he's not so bad. And you're like, you really are the dumb fuck that he's going for. And he's not that smart. You're just really fucking stupid. And that's deeply embarrassing. Now, one thing that I just want to add to the MFA 2 aspect is the interesting backflip that I'm sure you saw from Joel Jamal and Tippy Australia backing the 19th of October rally, even in the little video inciting the good name of Charlie Kirk, saying that he was bringing people together and this brings people together. But wasn't he against the MFA thing? Didn't he try to coordinate with the counter rallies and things like that? Do you know what changed? Do you have any idea what's going on there?
It was at first. Essentially, I think his role in this sort of where he's the niche he's put himself in is sort of trying to round up election numbers for micro parties. And
I guess you got a call from John Ruddock, right?
Yeah, and probably saw the scale of MFA 1, which was quite significant for, the fringe right.
Well, the fringe right now, pissy numbers for lockdown, but that was a very different story. Like I've got here March for Australia post on Facebook from the 14th of August saying, we cannot and will not let Big Chocky, Joel Jamal or Tricky derail what has been an organic movement built by real Australians for real Australians. So that's before August 31st, when we didn't really know that it was going to be a proper Nazi rally. And then in the aftermath, it's just bizarre. He's then turned around and said, October 19th, no, turn up. Here's the poster.
Yeah, it's someone, they spoke about it.
Yeah.
And he just sees his role as crunching numbers and delivering, promised results with his...
delivering value for his investors.
Yeah,
That's Charlie Kirk to a T, right? That's what Charlie Kirk does.
And he's been able to employ a marketing person and a South Australian coordinator since Charlie Kirk died.
Yeah, there's money.
So there's money come in, whether that's directly as a result of the boost they got from the Kirk death, or there's been a decision to fund them from outside.
Or just spending what's on hand because now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely there's money in the banana stand.
I mean, he's got, what's his name from the Adelaide set? He's the South Australian guy, and he shouts, and he's an idiot. And how you would think that is going to boost yourself in South Australia is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know what his future is, but he's a hustler, and there's going to be dodgy right-wing pennies going his way. And, let's face it, to a lot of very sketchy conservative types, a few $1 million is nothing, but a few $1 million will keep him going comfortably for a few years. So I think he's reaching for the stars, but I think he's happy with crumbs, and that makes him a very valuable weapon because he's good value for money.
And in the lead up to all of this, we've also had Pauline and Gina gallivanting at Mar-a-Lago. So,
yeah,
these guys are all in touch with each other, and in terms of investment, it's not much to throw a little bit at the likes of Joel and Monica to put on an event or two.
Deeply concerning that if Elon Musk decides to basically throw some money into Australian politics, then we are going to have a very frustrating several years, because he could throw pocket change from his couch at us and change elections, and I'm surprised he hasn't. The only thing we do have, I believe, is foreign interference laws. I imagine he's pretty happy to flaunt them and to work around them. But one thing that I have seen is that there was apparently a high court challenge from Liberty Works, and I'm interested to see sort of what that is and have a sort of look at it. I've got it on my sort of list of things to look at, but basically what they've apparently done is to try and challenge the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme Act, and basically forcing political organisations to have these certain registration obligations and things like that. I want to have a look at that. I want to flesh it out, because that might be one of the things that's saving our democracy, and one of the reasons why we can never allow the Liberals back in power, because it sounds like the first thing they'll repeal. Because like anything, it's just a law. It's not necessarily... Although I think there might be a constitutional aspect to it, but at the same time, it is challenging a piece of legislation which can be repealed. Well, what happened with Put Australia First, which followed it on the 29th of November in Sydney and the 30th of November in Melbourne, which I can only imagine is so Monica could go to both. I mean, I'm not crazy in saying that, right? Like, surely that's the reason why she did it.
Yeah, that sort of came out after, March for Australia had its supposed success.
Yeah.
And we'd seen the likes of Hasty and Jacinta Price leave the front bench of the shadow government. And it seemed to me, in a way, it was an attempt to, as far as Tom Sewell talks about moving and shifting the Overton window, it was an attempt from the far right, who aren't neo-Nazis, to bring it back to them.
Yeah.
And you had it wasn't like they even cared about the crowd. They had a bizarre set of speakers, who all basically amounted to Christo-fascists. And anyone who said they were anti-immigration, they pointed out that they had an Iranian and a Nigerian speaking who...
Oh, so relieving. I'm sure it's fine then.
Whose, logic was pretty out there, both of them. Nigerian fellow, but he wasn't very fond of the LGBTIQ.
That can often be the thing that sort of brings the guys there. Like it's the classic thing of like, saying with the Sewell thing, like, oh, I don't like the Nazi thing, but we have so much in common. And he's just like, okay, I don't know if that's good. Now, are you looking at Edward Nuise?
Yes.
Yes. He's here on the little sort of speakers listing here. And he had some kind of, if you're not prepared to assimilate here, blah, blah, blah thing. I mean, the bloke's a migrant, but he's also, which is interesting, he's the CEO of a company that provides services to over 1,200 people on the National Disability Insurance Scheme. Interesting. So, yeah, he's listed here in the fact that he is defending his belief that being gay is mental illness. Hey, look, maybe that's not an ideological thing. Maybe he's just trying to get more people in the NDIS, and that's great. So that's really good.
Oh, he's one of the good guys.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks like that Christo-fascist shit. And yeah, I mean, no wonder he's there basically saying, oh, well, other migrants can get fucked because these people are always about number one. And there's really no empathy or decency in that at all anyway.
But they would have been lucky to get, 300 people there?
Yeah. I think the Snarky Gherkin sort of estimated 297 for Sydney. And I think it was even less for Melbourne was the fiery one. That was a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit
Which was
more...
as much... Melbourne was far more charged for Put Australia First because the attack on Camp Sovereignty was fresh in the minds of
it's not
city,
perfect.
And there was a lot of build-up to protest and counter-protest.
But, like, even so, like, it's saying here that there was 700 protesters. It's not a lot. That's from Crikey.
No. And Tommy Robinson beamed into both.
And, beamed in both. Yeah, good on him. I mean, like, that is a wild thing because it's not the fact that Tommy Robinson is a Nazi per se, and I get the fact that he's like a sort of big name, but it does say I'm at a certain point and I'm okay with it. And it's a statement. It's definitely a statement. There were definitely rumblings around the idea that Jacinta Price pulled out once she realized that Tony Robinson's head was going to get beamed in. And that may have been because she disagrees with politics. That may have been because she saw a sense of survival, because that is not a good thing to be standing next to. Or it's nothing to do with that. And I'm talking shit and this is just rumor mill stuff. I don't know. But yeah, Tommy's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it certainly didn't help mainstream it in any way, if at all Monica was trying to do that. I mean, in Melbourne, we also had Morgan, Nick Patterson and Pastor Paul, or just the normal lockdown crowd.
It's just dregs of the freedom movement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of sad, really. Like, these are not interesting people. We had Stuart Bonds in Sydney, who you're sort of quite aware of.
Well, he is quite an interesting person because he is the only speaker at any of these things in the entire country who have managed to get the trifecta of speaking at March for Australia, Australia Unites, and Put Australia First.
Yep.
The only thing he has left to do, really, is try and get a gig at Chalet Shell's Breakaway Brisbane MFA in January. But I doubt he will.
Well, he seems more local.
And he was also he attended CPAC and the British Australian Community Nationalist meeting in Brisbane on the eve of CPAC. So
yeah, okay. He really wants that Senate spot. He really wants that Senate spot.
He wanted it. He got refuted, and Sean Bell got it. Now, there was a report, I think, in the Daily Mail or News.com saying that now Barnaby's joined One Nation, that he might give up his Senate spot that he's just taken through a vacancy to Barnaby. But that would just look bad.
It's musical chairs at that point. That's embarrassing.
But Stuart Bonds is very much ambitious. The way he was talking when that first Senate vacancy existed, it was like a fait accompli that he would be the nominee.
Yeah.
Then Bell came in. One Nation does have they've for the first time in 25 years or nearly 30 years, they've been busy setting up genuine branches.
Okay. Yeah.
They really believe they can capture the seat of Hunter. And that's the other thing with Bonds is that now they're saying that he's likely to be the number one upper house candidate for New South Wales.
Yeah, okay.
So, he stayed, after missing out on the Senate spot, you thought that, I was wondering if that might be the end of his enthusiasm for One Nation, but he's actually stepped up and was actually MC at this second Put Australia First rally we had this weekend with Barnaby. So,
he's a company man and he seems to believe in the cause. And, if there is a bright future ahead, I think he's going to be a part of it. But I think a lot of the hysteria around One Nation replacing the Liberal Party and the coalition is very hyperbolic. I think, generally speaking, we're going to see One Nation get a bump in primary vote, maybe a bump in preferences. Maybe they're going to capture a couple of seats, but I don't think we're going to be seeing some sort of orange wave taking out the Liberal Party, or the remnants of the Liberal Party, and any Labor seats that they might be able to manage to swing. I think they're just going to get a few more votes.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of seats. I haven't looked into it.
Just on a tangent, Stuart's wife, Sini Ariel, who is Finnish, she's...
Oh, that's right.
She just jet-setted back and forth between here and Finland for the last month, organising March for Finland.
March for Finland. Yeah.
And I came to learn, I always knew learning Finnish was one of the hardest ones, but
it's not easy, yeah.
March 2 and 4 can mean the same thing depending on what you're talking about. So,
well, that's annoying.
Yeah, if people thought it was March to Finland, which sounds weird.
Yeah, okay. Which is, I guess, what she did.
Yeah. And anyway, about 150 people who look very similar to the people who turned up to Monica's rallies in terms of demographic, turned up to the Finnish Parliament, marched to the war cemetery and lit candles. Sini did a dance and sang a song.
Great.
A lot of the comments that I translated were calling them Putinists and racists. And the Helsinki newspaper actually it was very handy. It had it was Independence Day in Finland on December the 6th. So they had a timetable of the various far-right events you could attend on the day.
Oh, nice.
And Sini's was the first one kicking off at midday.
Nice.
And then it sort of gradually seemed to get more and more neo-Nazi as the day went on until the one that kicked off when it got dark and everyone could riot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Sini's seemed to be the fluffy, weird, cookery one.
She's in good company. Like Stuart Bonds did a quote tweet which says, "Time to have some uncomfortable conversations." And the original tweet is by Oz Firebrand on Twitter. It says, "We shouldn't have to live like this." It's an Australian Firebrand sort of branded meme here. It has a background with the Bondi shooter and a Lindt chocolate block. And at the bottom of a sequence of events, which conveniently seems to leave out the Christchurch massacre, although it did happen in another country, it was in Australia who did it. It says, "Born here, not from here, remigration," which of course is the neo-Nazi demand that people who are citizens but are from another ethnicity or culture are sent back to a country they may or may not have ever been to.
He was also a keynote speaker at Australian Fibre, her conference in Brisbane on the same day as the British Australian community.
Yeah, wow. How prolific. Yeah, if you're going to be doing the whole remigration thing, good luck to you, mate. You're not you're not going to get up. Like, you'll end up being a Babbitt. If you get into the Senate, you will be ignored because you are not reasonable. That is not a reasonable. It's not an uncomfortable conversation. It's a conversation around sort of fascism, which, like, I'm sorry, but the uncomfortable conversation is that you're never going to have a successful career in mainstream politics if this is what you openly believe. So good luck to you. Good luck to you, mate.
It's interesting seeing his public events, even in the Valley, where he has marketed himself on being a coal miner and an alternative to the sort of uniformity of the CFMEU and the ALP. And you don't see massive groups of boys in high-vis there backing him. It's general. It's not a. There's a lot more to it than just he's a coal miner.
He's working hard. He's playing the tropes. He's doing the thing, but at the same time, this is not where Australia votes. You might capture some fringe votes, but even then, like, even One Nation, who can manage to scrounge together a senator, like, you're not it. So good luck to you, mate.
And in the end, Pauline's in her 70s now. She's rebranded. She's dropped her name. It's just One Nation again. She'll be going at some point. The chances of these guys not being able to have a massive internal fight is Buckley's. They always do.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, these people eat each other before they eat anyone else. It's just going to be an embarrassing implosion. So I guess that's most of the PAF. I mean, we did have the PAF in Melbourne on the 30th. Wasn't there a little incident with Arvey and Nick Patterson and Ozpill?
There was the Battle of the Jackets.
Yes, with the Helly Hansen nonsense, and just basically saying, mate, we know what that means. We know what you're doing. And Ozpill trying to sort of gaslight them in a really sort of weird and sociopathic kind of way, and then eventually getting to a point where he says that he's a nationalist, and they strangely say, we don't want nationalists, which I guess they were just trying to sort of think on their feet at the time, but that's a very stupid thing, which Ozpill, who is possibly intelligent, I'm really not sure, jumped on that and said, like, what do you mean no nationalists welcome here? What do you mean? And the issue with it, and the issue with this Ozpill kid, is that it's so disingenuous that you'd have to be a complete mug to take him seriously, or you would agree with him ideologically and you want his ideas to break through. So you pretend that what he's saying is in complete horse shit. But, what, Helly Hansen? I just love yachting, bro. I've been yacht since I was a kid, bro. Like, no. Do you lie to people like that in your everyday life? You fucking cook. Anyway, so yeah. So I found that reasonably distasteful, but it was also very difficult looking at Nick Patterson and Avi Yemeni and being like, I'm on your side. That felt very unpleasant. I don't want that again.
No. And he turned up again this weekend at the Snap Rally in Melbourne.
Oh, God, really?
Looking to continue it with Avi.
Wearing the Helly Hansen gear?
Yeah, and then...
That's something that's meant to be a vigil for fucking... Well, I mean, a vigil in brackets, which we'll discuss. But yeah, I mean...
And he seemed to... He didn't make it into the rally, obviously, because people were looking out for him, and he seemed to be somewhat afraid of being spotted. He had an entourage, what's his name, Lord Doug, who seems to be travelling around with him at the moment. And then they wandered the CBD of Melbourne, inevitably ending up inside and then getting kicked out of the Helly Hansen store, and then started vox popping a few people on the street.
Oh yeah, that's right, hassling people. There was a bloke who told him to get fucked.
Oh, that was the previous one where
okay.
So that was what, weekend before last, where they went to Box Hill, and he met a strange guy who told him to get fucked, and he was a Nazi, and then was marched out of the shopping mall. He threw the guy on the ground when there was a
He picked up his mic, and
grabbed the
Ozpill
mic.
saw that as a
He
bit
tried
of a...
to grab the microphone. Lord Doug dropped it like it was, as soon as he reached for it, he dropped it. And the guy picked it up, and then
he went to walk off
Ozpill
with it.
threw him, but he dropped it. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, it could have ended up worse.
Yeah.
And then the guy started reaching out to Ozpill. He said he was a Nazi punk's fuck off man, but he seemed to be Nazi punk's reconcile man.
Weird.
It was so weird.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Interesting.
Then so Ozpill had another crack at the rally just this weekend gone.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
Well, let's just go back to the first Put Australia First, because there is a couple of things that I'd like to sort of get across before we move on, which is there is an involvement with Australian peacemakers, Nick Patterson, we know of that, and we know the general sort of like, in organisers or satellites. You could say Reignite Democracy Australia, although it just felt like Monica's put it at this point. Pauline Hanson's One Nation, now One Nation, yeah, cool. Libertarians are all over it. But what's the go with the Lions of Zion, and what's their involvement in the first Put Australia First rally? Because this is prior to the Bondi Massacre terrorist attack. And this is, as Lions of Zion, it's a Jewish organisation, right? Like, Zionist organisation? I don't know anything about them.
Yaakov is the man to speak to about them in terms of intimate knowledge.
Yeah, that's very true.
What was interesting was during the federal election campaign, Monica organised a rally in Brisbane against net zero, and there was plenty of Lions of Zion and Advance and the similar sort of grouping of people involved in that.
Okay.
And that was the first time sort of you'd seen Monica and this group sort of pivot into advanced sort of, overtly into advanced sort of territory. Like Sandra Burke actually spoke at that. It was clearly advanced.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Because, if you want to know more about this, and I think I need to do a bit of reading, Yaakov has written about this on Michael West Media. Very interesting stuff about it being a charitable fight club and all the rest. But it's. So we'll move on to the Put Australia First Rally 2, which sort of wasn't meant to happen, but it was more of a sort of a snap rally in the wake of the Bondi terrorist attack. And essentially the poster read, mostly in caps, "Put Australia first, the government should be sacked, lowercase, good governments don't import and support terrorists," which is interesting. And then in brackets, all caps, "event is also a memorial of Bondi victims," which feels like an afterthought in brackets. It just doesn't feel like that's the thing they're doing within a week or so of the event. It's almost like they're sort of obliged to. They're like, oh, by the way, it's also like a memorial of the Bondi victim. It's mostly opportunistically exploiting this tragedy for political gain. But there is definitely, like, we do care a bit, I suppose. I guess, in brackets. What? And, like, what good governments don't import and support terrorists? What are you even talking about? I mean, like, the guy, like, the dad came in under Howard. Not that it matters. I don't give a fuck who he came in under. It's a completely ridiculous metric. But the fact that they're making this a conversation is them doing this because it shouldn't be a conversation at all. The idea that governments intentionally bring in terrorists is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. No one intentionally brought in Brendan Tarrant. We're not having that conversation because that piece of shit was born in Australia and then migrated to New Zealand for a temporary purpose. I'm sorry, but, like, the fuck are you talking about? It's just dumb. So that poster's stupid, but it was never going to be smart. And, the Premier said, please don't do it. Jewish community said, please don't do it. They had a Jewish woman who has been absolutely hammering right-wing media to push an idea that the ABC is partially to blame for this and all sorts of really weird shit. And they basically went, look, see, the Jewish community does side with us. We have her. Okay. All right. Weird. So, yeah, it just seemed like a really bad idea from start to finish. And the amount of sort of like confidence and glee at which they sort of executed this this event is shameful. It's shameful. Anyway.
It was amazing, just the wake of Bondi, the lack of a bipartisan response by the opposition, and the way it was exploited by so many people looking to further their position.
Ideological, yeah. It's so bad.
Just, people can go, it's this or that in terms of the worst thing to happen. But yeah, just that was a very new thing, I guess. I
found that very difficult to reconcile.
Yeah,
it really is depressing.
Just how far they were prepared to go. It was on from the get go.
Yeah, well, like Susan Ley had a reasonable and considered bipartisan approach, and the next day they're wheeling out Johnny Howard and trying to make this all about Albo's failures. What failures, mate? Quantify them. Tell me what Albo could have done to prevent this terrorist attack. I'm waiting.
I mean, the only thing that can bring out what went wrong is the proper investigation and the considered inquiry and the sensible voices coming to the fore, not Monica Smith or Barnaby
and not Josh Frydenberg either, who I thought was a sensible human being until now. I never liked him per se. I mean, like, whatever. He's a Tory, I'm a partisan hack, whatever. But now, oh my God, I've got contempt for that man. What a disgusting thing to say, that Anthony Albanese has 15 people's blood on his hands, including that of a 10-year-old child. Get in the bin, mate. Like, if you're traumatized, fine. I'm waiting for the apology. If I don't hear it, I'm not hearing the traumatized thing, because that's beyond the pale. If he apologizes for that, I've got respect for that, because fair enough. In the wake of a tragedy that has affected your community so horribly, you can be a bit crazy. I was involved in the 7/7 terrorist attacks in England, and I almost got blown up on the train. I went to catch a bus, almost got blown up there. And by almost, I mean miles away. I didn't see any bloodshed, didn't hear any explosions. But after that, I was like instant racist, like just so reactionary. And I was young, and I was, I really didn't know what to think. And I was talked off the ledge by my father, who really did drum some common sense into me. And I'm lucky to have had that. But at the same time, like, I was a kid. This is Josh Frydenberg, former treasurer. Bro, I expect better from you. That's not on. Anyway, really disgusted by that. But generally speaking, most level-headed people said about this event, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's good.
And here we found Barnaby Joyce making his debut as a cooker, basically. Officially. Unofficially,
good luck,
he's
mate.
Been there before.
He's been on the fringe. Like, he did the renewables rally that we went to, the reckless renewables thing. But that's okay as far as the Nats go. They hate net zero, whatever, that's fine.
They just needed the cookers to bump up the crowd at that one.
Pretty much. They got Guru to do it, and then they didn't let him speak. Gee whiz. But, he's in it now. It's in for a penny. Like, same thing with, Ruddick, who's just decided, you know what, the cooker vote's my electorate. And, he's going to be directly fighting with One Nation for that vote. And
they're in competition, and that by default has put the Beck versus Monica as the sort of proxy war of that.
That is a very, very funny concept. The idea that Beck and Monica are in a proxy social media war is some cringe shit. Fucking wow. Okay. Yeah, cool. That's embarrassing. So Barnaby Joyce really he's heading towards obscurity. He may retain power. As we discussed, there's a bit of a sort of jostling for One Nation seats and things like that. Though at the end of the day, he's going from being the member for New England. He won't be the member for New England because that won't work with One Nation. He's going to try and be a senator again? Like, what?
And he's got to live up to all the One Nation tropes.
He's got to feed the cats,
which literally he tried to do, walking away from the rally in on the weekend, he came across a Palestine rally at Town Hall and had to put up a post speculating whether he'd heard them chant "Globalise the Intifada" or whether they'd done it at previous rallies. He didn't know. He didn't have the guts to say he heard it.
Is it because he's been drinking too much? I don't know.
It's he almost looked resigned when he was talking, that he suddenly realised what he might have lost.
Yeah, just being a reasonable person. I'm not a big fan of that, but they occupy a space in political discourse, whereas One Nation are on the fringe. And you want to pound the fringe?
He held
Fine.
New England indisputably. No one was going to get him.
Yeah,
He's given all of that up.
Yeah, I don't think that New England is going to be very interested in him after this.
The polling doesn't suggest so.
Yeah.
I mean, all the farm workers who are brought into as part of immigration schemes to work in agricultural jobs that no one else will do. His constituency are certainly feeling a bit uncertain as to what he's got left to offer.
I mean, like in the sit in New England, he got 52.22 primary, so that's an outright win. But on two candidate preferred, which I assume would include some of the One Nation votes, which is 9.96, he's at 67%. I mean, maybe he could win that back as One Nation. Trumpet of Patriots had 2.72. Family First had 3.19. Get them all to cut it out. If he could run unopposed as the sort of right-wing candidate and they parachute someone in from the Nationals that no one knows about, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, but I wouldn't put money on it.
No, it's all up in the air there.
Yeah, it really, really is. But yeah, it looks like he's decided to just eat shit in that regard. So in Melbourne, we had Nick Patterson speaking, and from the Herald Sun, they've reported that anti-lockdown campaigner and Put Australia First organiser Nick Patterson was the first to speak and pushed the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. Oof. That is in the wake of a anti-Semitic tragedy. That is some wild shit.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he might not even be aware of the fact that it's an anti-Semitic trope. Apparently he said, and this is a quote from the article, he said that he was trying to set a moderate tone, but a more extreme tone would come if it has to. Okay? That's really, really interesting to say in the wake of a terrorist attack, an anti-Semitic trope and the idea of escalating the tone. He's not a smart man. I mean, he's been punched in the head a few times, but he's not a smart man. That's some real wild shit. And then, of course, as we said earlier with the Lions of Zion, who in the article are mentioned as holding a children's party themed after Israel's Pager attack. And when you put it that way, that does sound pretty bad, but I still think that's a cry for attention. They pushed a freelance journalist onto the road. And if Yakov's article about it being a charity fight club has any weight, then I suppose it was probably quite a good push because, they train for this shit.
They do.
So,
the charity fight clubs are all the rage these days.
Oh, good. Is it something to do with active clubs as well? Or I guess that's the other side of the fence. But yeah, I mean, if they all want to just get into a big park and fight it out, that's fine. But nothing ever good comes of that. And we end up paying through our taxes. It's very upsetting. So yeah, look, I would say the number two, handful of people, even less in Melbourne, total non-event, knee-jerk reaction, incredibly stupid. Monica did the whole usual, like, the fate of our country lies in this 2-hour thing. The speakers sounded shit. Did you see anything from the speakers that stood out to you especially?
I was flipping between Sydney and Melbourne and an Ashes win. So between the three of those, I didn't particularly listen to Melbourne. I just saw it was raining, and it just was really a repeat of Christo-fascism and Morgan and Nick and doing their thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and And a bit of the old great replacement theory just sort of thrown in there. It was a tasteless and stupid thing to do. I get the fact that the floodgates were kind of opened, especially when it came to the sort of negative attacking approach and the way in which everyone seems to be weaponizing this. It's become a bit of an is what it is type thing. I still think there is room for decency in the wake of this tragedy, but there's just not a lot because a lot of the room has been taken up, and that makes me really sad.
And what happens in the immediate aftermath is very important.
I think so. And I'm sort of surprised how sort of personally affected, I've felt depressed in the wake of it and just hopeless and just feeling like disconnecting, just being like, why do I involve myself in any of this? I'd like just walk away. And that's not the answer. That's a really negative thing. We are in a participatory democracy, and one of the goals of this kind of shit is to disillusion people, especially ones they disagree with. So that's not the solution. But look, I think what we should do is we should continue this conversation in a sec, but have a bit of a news break. And it's going to be mostly good news, sort of. So, yeah, sort of. It's the fuck around and find out news, basically. So we had a situation recently where some dickhead was arrested and denied bail for trying to start a bashing day. And this is a barber. So he's decided to take a break from cutting hair due to the fact that he's now in jail. He tried to whip up a Cronulla-style riot in the wake of the Bondi Beach massacre, and he was arrested and denied bail, and he's being charged with using a carriage service to menace, harass, offend, and publicly threaten violence on the grounds of race and religion. So basically the flyer online said, "We riot, WOG/Middle Eastern bashing day, spread the word Australia, stand the fuck up." So that was a bad idea.
That's a direct nod to the original text
Cronulla
from
riots
2005. So,
yeah.
Which ironically he was being born at about that time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he really doesn't understand history. I remember that. I was old enough.
I mean, he thinks he's pulling off a prank and getting away with it, and instead he's lost everything because he was arrested at his family's joint on the Central Coast, but he's living in Gympie and running a barber shop up there.
He is.
And one of the arguments his lawyer put up was that his girlfriend is a aged care worker and won't be able to hold the fort financially if he's down in New South Wales in jail. And the magistrate just basically said stiff shit.
Really, really did. Yeah.
And, it's just a reflection of he was the one who just had to go a step further than all the other horrible shit that's being said in community groups and try and start something he probably had no intention of even being at.
Yeah, look, it would not surprise me if this was one of those, like, I thought I was being harmless type things. And there's real harm in this because once this gets out of the bag, it's just like when you have those, like, open house parties when you're a teenager and everyone finds out about it in the suburb and you have 400 dickhead kids there, and by 10 p.m. the cops are there having bottles pelted at them and your house is completely trashed. That's what happens.
It kicked off when Minns was directly asked by a journo in his press conference what he intended to do about it. And he said they were aware of it and would have a huge police presence, so which they're still saying they're going to have.
Just in case it does actually materialise.
Yeah. And
okay.
Then you had you even had Blair Cottrell coming in and saying, ha, 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 you can't trick us that easily. And
what, because it was some sort of false flag sort of attack? Yeah. Yeah, wow, interesting.
So he's really, he's 20 years old. He's an idiot.
I feel like this is a very harsh lesson, and I almost feel sorry for him. But
there's no way they're going to pull back from dealing out the harsh lesson. just in this
Yeah.
climate. And the magistrate made a nod to that as well. It's just in this climate. No way.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. I mean, like when he was arrested on the Central Coast, he was arrested by the Counterterrorism and Specialist Tactics Command. That's that is a heavy group. I don't imagine they were heavily armed and went in there as like a SWAT team. But when you hear that,
Still a bit of a shock for mum when your kid's in the bedroom on the computer.
yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is serious. This isn't just the locals coming to pick me up to have a chat. This is counterterrorism deciding I am a threat to the community. And that's what basically the Magistrate Quinn said when denying bail, said there was an unacceptable risk to endangering others in the community, among other things. And basically just saying inciting people to violence because of race or religion is repulsive. And that's true. But I don't know if I know enough to agree with the idea that he's got an ongoing threat to the community due to the fact that I'm thinking he's probably sitting in there thinking, fuck, that was dumb. That was real dumb. Whoops. But, you know, if you kick off a race riot, man, like that's bad. And at no point in the last week or in my life have I thought, you know what? I might just see if a race riot happens because I might just make this flyer. It's just not something that's really come up before. So anyway, this is one of the crazy parts. So he is due to appear before court on February 20 next year.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That is a long time.
That indicates the sentence is quite possibly custodial.
Well, it's definitely custodial because, I mean, if you're getting denied bail, then that shit is very much happening. But apparently the magistrate said that the allegations are very serious and could possibly result in jail time if proven. So who knows? It's going to be before the courts, and that'll be for the process to determine. But when it comes to, like, what I would speculate is that he'll plea out and time served and call it a day, and we'll never hear from him again.
What was interesting was
the
the cops saying he hadn't submitted a Form 1.
Yes, I did see that on several articles.
Which is the least of his problems, really.
It is the least of his problems.
They really
I did
rubbed
find
it
it very
in.
funny. Fucking hell. Yeah, I don't think that was really on the cards. And I don't think this person really knows what a Form 1 is, let's face it.
He would never have heard of a Form 1, and being from Gympie,
use
currently
AI.
is no excuse.
No. Although it should be a mitigating factor in sentencing, just saying. So, look, I think that in the wake of this terror attack, you've seen the far right licking their lips, but I think also neo-Nazis, because they're in a situation where all the groups that are being demonized, the people that they don't like. So, woohoo! It's great. Look, everyone hates Muslims. The Jews got attacked indiscriminately. Oh, this is fucking great. Well, it's not so fucking great because in your moment of glee, you forgot to realize that you cunts are strongly aligned with the idea of anti-Semitism, and that's a bit of an issue right now. And now it looks like Tony Burke has decided to gun for you as a prescribed organization. Not terrorist organization, just an organization. Terrorist organization, that's a higher threshold. This will be a lower threshold, which will basically say this is a group of people, they're very naughty, and they're much easier to arrest and jail now.
Yeah, so it seems that there's going to be some sort of new category he was suggesting.
That's what he was saying. It's going to include a lot of Islamic groups that I'm not familiar with, and I don't know whether they generally pose a danger to society or not. I just don't know them. But what I can say is that the NSN getting included, I've seen a lot of people being like, what? But Muslims are the problem. And it's like, no, anti-Semitism's the problem. And you guys are a little bit anti-Semitic. I know it doesn't feel like that because you haven't been to any Palestine protests, and I know that's the real problem, but you are.
And there's genuine fears here too that any sort of lesser listing could lead to any number of community organisations being
targeted and put into this
category, either
yeah.
under another government or the same government, whatever, or in different political climates. So
you're seeing this as being another one of those things that's designed to catch radicals, but ends up catching lots of sort of, let's just say, like, you know, unfortunate, because not unintended, but like, sort of unfortunate sort of black hatch in a way.
Yeah, well, it will definitely be targeted at
Climate protesters, Palestine protesters,
people advocating for a two-party solution.
Two-state solution, yeah. They love a two-party solution here.
Yeah, I'm still back in bipartisan world.
Yes.
But, yeah, so in the short term, it seems they've gone right. There's no way White Australia is going to be registering as a political party.
Well, it sounds like this is going to put a fork in that, and that was a big question because, is there a legal reason they can't if they get the signatures and if they get the members? And the general tactic was make sure that anyone who signs a document saying they are a member of White Australia knows that will be public knowledge. And if you want to be in the Nazi party, then cool, but your neighbours will know.
That's right. They were actually talking amongst themselves a month or so back, saying that whether you're a member the AEC assured them that will be secret. Whether that ends up being the case or not,
I think it was the New South Wales registration that was going to be public, because I think it was Chris Minns who was saying, if you want your friends and family to know that you're a member of this party, then sign up by all means. But I don't think you want that. So maybe the federal AEC. I don't know. Maybe people could post in the shitposting group with some more information on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does look like basically this is the kind of thing that can be very easily abused, and as much as I am enjoying the fact that NSN are about to have their lives made infinitely harder, that is a good point. This may very well turn into something which goes too far on both sides. There's a lot of conservative groups that fall short of the NSN benchmark that I don't think should, like My Place. Like, I don't think they should be a prescribed organisation. They're nuts. And I think
the organic food division of My Place certainly shouldn't.
It's quite wholesome,
unless they start hammering nails into avocado seeds or something.
Oh God, don't bring that back. When we had the bloody needles in the fruit, or whatever it was, all those years ago.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck, yeah. That was. I'm glad that passed. Yeah, that was deeply unpleasant. Yeah, no, that would be a problem. I think they would find themselves in trouble. And look, moving on to our last news topic, Joel Davis was denied bail again. He appeared on video link from remand just today. Yeah. So, generally speaking, the situation here is he's been on remand since the 20th of November, potentially in solitary confinement. That's what I've heard. The maximum penalty for his offence, which is the using carriage service to menace, is 3 years imprisonment. There's an aggravated version, but as far as I can see, the aggravated version is around the use of private sexual material, or, generally termed as revenge porn. So 3 years is what he's up for. This level of remand seems to indicate that he's getting up for a decent sentence, but like the last guy, although the last guy I feel like is a bit of an innocent party as far as innocence goes, because I do think he probably genuinely just wants this to be over and just to forget about it and never do something stupid like that again. Joel Davis will do this again.
That guy's 20, right, ashore?
20.
Joel Davis is 30.
Yeah, there's a big difference. And Joel Davis is a, sort of professional Nazi, so there's that.
That's it.
I don't know what he's looking at. It may just end up being time served. But he's facing court again on January 14th, and it's a decent amount of time to spend in solitary confinement. I don't wish him well, but I also understand that stretches of solitary confinement like that can be considered a form of torture. And, it's hard.
Yeah, it's interesting, the magistrate's comment saying, she said, "The words speak for themselves, but I have today received surrounding material in relation to the feed."
Yes.
And other reaction to the rhetorical rape comment, she said.
Yeah, which is very interesting.
And needless to say, his own patriots seem to use the words beyond their academic or literal meaning.
Yeah. So it's like one of those things where they're using it as a dog whistle.
So there, she's clearly been provided with what I've seen myself in their chats, hundreds of comments repeating the phrase and getting laugh reacts. And if they don't use the second word, they use rhetorical in terms of other things. And it's a bit like Ozpil wearing Helly Hansen and getting a giggle every time he says it.
And then also denying it when confronted.
Yeah.
Which is, doubling down on the joke.
So, it's interesting that was part of the reason for keeping him inside and missing the birth of his kid and missing Christmas now.
Yeah, and look, I must say there's this whole thing of like, he's going to miss the first Christmas with his kid. And while that is deeply unfortunate and very sad, there is a bit of a trend happening. You've got the South African situation where the media were harassing them at the airport, which I'm not exactly going to cheerlead for that kind of behaviour. It's pretty tacky. But, they're pushing the little stroller in front of the media and being like, not in front of my child. It's like, I'm not a father, so I can't say this, right? Like, so I can't say this. So lots of parents in listeners, you can put this into perspective the way you want. But if I was worried about a threat to my child, I wouldn't say not my child and push the kid toward the threat. I would be more inclined to walk in front of the threat in order to protect my child from it. And I think this has got real Elon Musk putting his kid on the shoulders sort of vibes. Little Human Shield is so adorable, but I just find the way that they're using this kid as this reason why Joel Davis should be freed from jail, it just seems like a legitimacy shield, just like Elon Musk uses the kid as a human shield, and just like the Grutter family were at the airport using the kid as some sort of media shield. I don't know, man. Like, maybe stand in front of your kids and not behind them. I don't know. Like, that just seems like a no-brainer to me. But look, like I say, not a parent. I don't know. Maybe your first instinct is just to grab the kid and be like, take him, not me.
Jet lag.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. Yeah.
Nazi jet lag.
Yeah, exactly. How gross. So I guess moving on, we are heading toward January 26th. That will be the next thing. And it's going to be grim. The Nazis will be all over it. And to be fair, I'm not sure if they're going to want to show their face after what happened at Quarry Street, what's happened with this whole prescribed organisation thing, Joel Davis getting denied bail. Things aren't good.
No, it's it's a sad time.
It's a sad time in Naziville.
And just the general state of the world in terms of what the federal police might describe as social cohesion and stability. But in terms of here, we are heading into a nationalist rally at the end of the holiday period.
Mm-hmm.
God knows what will happen in terms of new laws and which New South Wales is sitting
currently
upon
mulling over
right now.
Yeah, we don't know.
In terms of federal listings and quick decision making, there's a long way, a lot to play out in the next 4 weeks.
It won't be challenged in court by that time, I would imagine, unless MFA suddenly get an injection of money. If they think that any of the laws are possibly unconstitutional, which would just always end up being the implied freedom of political communication aspect. But like the ability for this to go ahead is not the story.
Yeah, I was going to mention in terms of the White Australia Party, they say they've got a precedent for that, which I'm assuming is the Communist Party.
Yeah, it would be. I'm not sure if that precedent works anymore. We don't really know because laws could have changed by then. But yeah, I don't know if they've done that by sort of having a chat at the pub or if they've actually got legal advice on that. But
Well,
they
they've
do
got
have
what's his name who spoke
Matthew-
at MFA1?
Hopkins. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not an idiot. I don't love him for various reasons.
He was Davis's lawyer today, wasn't he?
Yep. Yeah, I believe so.
He wasn't Ryder Shaw's lawyer.
No. So, yeah, Hopkins is an interesting one. He was in the sort of the thrall of the Cooker anti-vax lawsuits that didn't exactly go very well. And he had a crack though. So it'll be interesting to see if they do go ahead, and if they do, how, and how these kids are all going to sort of prepare themselves for what's coming. There's a lot more unknown unknowns as a result of what's happening right now in New South Wales Parliament. That's a very good point and very important. But yeah, I mean, whatever it's going to be messy and it's going to be stupid. But the year has sort of ended on a really shit note. I've just found this a deeply unpleasant thing, and the Jewish community are hurting, and there's a lot of ways that that's being expressed. But yeah, it just sucks. This is just shit. And if I were a Nazi, I would want to keep a pretty fucking low profile for some time.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of, I guess, amusing elements to it, there was a Brisbane split off from MFA, which infuriated Beck, who was betrayed by Chalet Chow and Bender.
For our freedom, poor thing.
Oz Integrity. And now Adelaide today has just suggested they don't want NSN turning up, so they're having something different as well. And that was Mark Aldridge and some guy called Stephen Pfeiffer.
Yeah, okay. And generally speaking, what you reckon? They're just saying, look, we really don't want Nazis at this thing. We want to make a political point about migration policy, but we do not want Nazis there. Which, I don't agree with the idea of mass migration and whether it is even a thing, let alone the reforms of it. But it's kind of good to see them drawing the line at the Nazi thing. Like, I welcome this in a sort of fucked Overton window kind of way.
There was a line drawn between basic Aussie suburban racism and getting all brown shirt. I find it sort of incredible to watch, sort of as a rolling circus, but where that line is drawn and how it's rationalised in people's heads is hard to fathom.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at it as personal moral ground, or a more structured thought that that's only going to harm us to be seen with these people.
Yeah. It's I like going back to the time maybe 18 months ago where it felt like I could say with a lot of conviction that people didn't like Nazis. I feel like that's harder to say now, which is terrifying. But look, a lot of this engagement is likely inauthentic online. You just have to see the amount of people they can pull together for a protest outside Macquarie Street. It's, 60 people does not make a mass movement, but it's more people than I'd like to see. It just feels like anytime you get to a thread involving someone like Joel Davis, you have just an absolute stream of assholes saying how much they support him, which either means there is a worrying trend towards embracing Nazi ideology, or there is a lot of inauthentic behaviour happening on social media, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the latter.
No, not at all. And they're, they've outrightly stated that they're thrilled by the uncertainty that's created around protest laws and hate speech and being, whether they run out of people to be arrested. Yeah.
The meat grinder, the legal meat grinder.
They're certainly disrupted, which, you'd guess is what some of the policing in recent months has been all about, child porn on phones and memes and Sewell's up on the charges we all know about. Davis is locked up, and there's 14 others on bail in Victoria, and a number of the New South Wales ones pretty much doxed and certainly interrupted in terms of their job prospects.
Yes, interrupted indeed.
But we're all heading to a gathering on January 26th where Beck's called for face painters and balloons. So I'm sure the original thought in those weird heads was Nazi Family Day, but...
100%. Once again, I think they're going to be standing behind the kids and not in front of them. That just seems like what they're doing here.
Yeah, and she's also called... There was a call about 3 weeks ago to organise suburban branches, if you like, of MFA.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Which, you can only see what you see, but there hasn't really seemed to be much action on that.
No. It's a lot of work, to be fair.
Yeah, and who wants to be the
face of it?
The three-person meeting in your town?
Oh, you got to really have some kind of end goal. And it seems like the end goal would basically just be having your life turned upside down because you've aligned with Nazis. And if you're not aligned with Nazis and you have a genuine interest in what Beck claims to be the objectives of the organization, I'm sorry, man. Like, that just means you're stupid. That's still quite an indictment. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, no, I was so worried he was a Nazi, but he's actually just a fucking moron. It's still not great. It's
somewhat of a concern that MFA have announced, well, same venue as we had this weekend for the Monica show. It's Prince Albert Park for March for
near
Australia.
Central Station, but also near Redfern.
It brings it very close to Aboriginal events on that day.
Well, just down the road is Victoria
Yabun.
Park. Yabun, yeah, fucking hell.
And often people gather in Redfern before that. So, you just hope that doesn't things
kick
get
off.
steered in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I don't think the cops are going to let anything even close to happen there. But let's see. Who knows? But
if it was Melbourne, you wouldn't bet on it. Hopefully the New South Wales cops are a tad bit better.
Melbourne would upgrade from their giant aerosol cans of pepper spray and just get a fire truck, just full of Tabasco, and just spray anyone that walked near the two parks. Just seems like a reasonable Vic Pol thing to do any given Saturday. God, they're psychos. Anyway. I'm not like some sort of sort of ACAB type. I really am not. But I do find the way that Vic Pol behaves just seems different. It just seems a little bit hectic. But anyway, that's another story. So look, it looks like the 26th January is going to be an interesting one. I'm hoping that basically what happens is it's a massive failure. NSN stay home, and for better or worse, they tend to move somewhat more underground. I think at this point in history, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've got to the point where they're effectively recruiting when sunlight is projected onto them, as opposed to being shunned sort of across the board. I might be wrong in that. But the Overton window does feel like it's moved a little bit.
And whether, it's not like history doesn't repeat. So, we have been in situations of volatility before, and the dust does settle.
It's hard to know what the future holds after an event like this, because real bad. But so what else is going on?
Well, we're out of rallies for 2025.
We are out of rallies. So I guess that basically just brings us to a close. Is there anything else on the mind?
Not in particular.
We can always come back to it.
We could revisit No, I'm done with their drama.
Yes, I think that's right. Like, I think we need to sort of, process the depressing side of everything that's going on at the moment, but at the same time, remember that, the reason why I started this podcast with Jack really is because in the wake of the pandemic and, during the pandemic, but in the wake of this sort of the start of it, I just found that conspiracy theorists really started becoming very funny. Like, they were always kind of funny, and, I was in on a lot of stuff back in the day, and that's all very fine. But they just became really funny and really creative and really dumb, and there was all these characters and all these personalities. I don't want this to necessarily become the Nazi sadness podcast, but we also just can't completely ignore what's happening.
Got
I really
to stick
appreciate
with reality, I guess. But
that's it.
There is funny out there.
There is still a lot of funny out there. Yes,
I didn't even click on the video with Bosie raving on about Gitmo today, but
wow.
I did.
He's
in
still
the
going.
same way, Jesse feels nostalgic for the foundations of the country. I felt a bit nostalgic for the days we considered Bosie a threat.
I didn't even know he was still going. I thought he'd given up.
Still, he goes and goes. He never. Yeah, he's still there. It's just that everyone else is. After Donut Gate, was it Donut Gate? No, it was another.
Yeah,
gate.
With the payment of the was it pancakes?
Pancakes, that's right.
Pancakes.
Donuts was the guy who ended up bashing up MGG. He did the donut, that very lockdown thing in Melbourne. He went to the donut shop. That was his claim to fame.
Oh, that's right. That's
was him Mahmood, I think.
Yeah, okay. Fucking hell, yeah. That guy getting angry for getting donuts during lockdown because you shouldn't be allowed donuts during lockdown if you're not allowed to go to the gym or fucking whatever it was. Mental stuff.
He's happier when he's basking.
I would say so. I'd say that seems like a much healthier approach to things. Good Lord. Well, look, it's been great to have you on here and giving us insights into reality, because you do turn up to these things, you do observe these things, and you do make a difference, sometimes with footage and sometimes with your insights and sometimes with both. And I very much appreciate the amount of attention you give to these things, because it's hard to keep up with this stuff, especially when it's shit like video. I'm not going to watch a fucking 90-minute video of assholes talking. I don't know how you do it, but it means you know shit, and as it's nice when people know shit and you know shit. So I like that.
Yeah, well, apologies to the Melbourne folk, because I didn't watch as much as I should have. So
that's all right. Look, Melbourne looked like
complete.
It looked like a complete fucking nothing. So I think you probably gave it about as much attention it deserved. Really. All right, well, thank you very much, mate. We will be speaking again in the not too distant future. And thank you very much, listeners, for tuning in. That'll do.
Yay.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.